This is the Messiah Hour with Ari Lewis.
Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the Messiah Hour here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Thank you for joining us. At any time, you can email the show at messiahhour@gmail.com, or you can email the station at Israel Sports and News Radio at gmail.com. Sweatshop labor is a topic that grabs people by their emotions many, many times, discussing the morality issues as well as financial issues. And on the line to discuss all of that and how it relates to Judaism is our favorite rabbi from Tzfat, co-author of the book, The World of the Ger, Rabbi David Katz. Rabbi, how you doing out there?
Hi, Ari. Thanks for bringing me back. As always, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, indeed. So this sweatshop labor issues bother me personally, as you know, for over 10 years, because if there are these sweatshop labor places that are making clothes for me, and if they're being treated horribly or if they're being murdered to make clothes for me, obviously I feel guilt about that. I want to know how we can approach it from a Jewish perspective. What are your thoughts?
There's so many ways to hit this. That's one of my, I guess that a lot on your show, because that's always true. That's why we bring up, how's the tag phrase go? We're going to tell the truth, or was it?
Oh, well, basically my policy is, there are other stations out there in Israel that are, let's say, affected, influenced by certain money issues, but that's not mine. My station, we're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell it like it is.
That's it. I'll just, I'll paint the picture by painting a picture. It was a picture that was going on the internet that when I first started blogging, I used this picture to prove my point. And it was an exploitation post that I did, and that's the word you're talking about, number one. Everyone needs to know that word, exploitation. That's really what this is. The picture was, again, I'm going to paint this really ugly for those whatever, but it was a white guy in a hospital with an IV drawing like the blood of minorities into an IV, and he was looking, flush and red, and it was drawing the blood of minorities. And that's really what exploitation is, right? It's abusing and manipulating, ruining somebody else for you to shine and look great. Now, God brings blessings into this world, and He also wants those blessings earned. And there's two ways you can go about those blessings in anything that you know in this true world: the right way or the exploitation way. Let's say, for example, there's a concept of a Michael Jordan, a Nike Air Jordan shoe.
Right.
It's a concept in heaven. God says, okay, look, basketball is a game. Let's pretend that that's not exploitation also. And there's a game, basketball, it's fun and all this stuff. And I want you to pretend like you're jumping extra high when you have this little air bubble in your shoes called Nike Air Jordans. You can bring those down the right way or the exploitation way. Either way, it's come into the world. You've earned it. If you cheat, it's going to be through a sweatshop in China with a 5-year-old, making your shoes, and you walk around, smiling how great it is to have Nike Air Jordans. But you're not paying attention to the exploitation. And again, before I turn it back over, there's another image I saw, which I collected a lot of images for my blog when I first started blogging, and that was a 5-year-old Chinese kid in the factory making the Air Jordans, or sort of whatever toy it was, so that a 5-year-old American can open the box. Right? I think that's pretty obvious in the connotation that gives.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the connotation of that or the imagery of that, certainly very shocking. So what I want to know is, and I love the Michael Jordan point, because he was asked point blank, are you going to do anything about the sweatshop factories that make Nike shoes? He said he would, and then he did not. So what do we do as consumers? Do we absolutely avoid using sweatshop labor at all?
We're all invested in sin. It really is. It's like, are you doing a mitzvah? Or are you doing an avera, a sin, at any moment? Everything you do is exploitation, or to the lack of exploitation. And your culture, you are born into it. You're born into this evil, and therefore you have to pick your poison. You have to pick what war you want to fight. Who do you seek to liberate? How noble is your cause in terms of importance? I mean, it's the ultimate game of free will, right? If there's a bad guy, he says, look, Ari, I'm going to kill either this relative or that relative. Pick which one. Who wants to do that? But that's kind of the game that we're put in. You have to learn only through Torah wisdom can you really cipher through the evil of this world and come out of it with a precise method of attack. Where am I going to focus my energies of ridding the world of evil and returning the world to good? You have one bullet in your gun. Everybody needs to figure out, what to do. A lot of people disengage. Ignorance is bliss, and denial is a mode of life. So, I'm going to disengage by promoting my own Jewish cause. That doesn't do anything. And then they rationalize it by, well, the non-Jews, this and that. But every group has this. I mean, look what's going on all over the world. I mean, ISIS is chopping heads off. Does anybody care? And that's also an exploitation. So you have to pick your battles. A lot of people are very small-minded, meaning they're not thinking global. So their exploitation is whether my kid gets a cookie or not. They're not exactly broadening their mind and expanding their views. So that's a problem. A lack of worldview, lack of world consciousness. Media is against you, but not Ari Lewis. He's for you.
Yes, certainly. At least I try to be. I'm not perfect, but I try to be. Okay, again, this is the Messiah Hour here on Israel Sports and News Radio. I want to go back to something you said earlier in the show. You were talking about a concept basically of destiny, that in heaven they created, let's say, this Michael Jordan and the shoe and all this kind of stuff. There's a correct way to do it. Does that mean no matter what, there are certain things that will occur in the world, and then it's just a question if we do it morally or not morally?
Is there any option that the planet Earth cannot have roads on it?
Well,
is that a creation of man, or was it destined to be?
I feel like it was destined to be, but there was probably a period in time. There's certain places in the world that don't have roads. We know that.
That's true, but was it completely a creation of man, or was there a concept of a road in heaven, or better yet, does the Torah itself identify a road?
Right. Well, the road. Right. There are roads talked about in the Torah. It says he was on the road and encountered so and so. So the creation of the road is in heaven, and then the road, as we bring it down, is up to us if we do it morally or immorally. Correct?
That's right. Because think about how things come into existence in the emanation. Right. I thought a lot about this, as much as you've thought about exploitation. Everything we see. You could, on one hand, you could say, driving's BS, cars are BS, roads are BS, road signs are BS. And you can say it's not a real wisdom. So some company, Nissan, made a car, and the government made a road, and they made this road sign, and I got to go to driving school and master a fake wisdom. A lot of people have thought that in a very vulgar form, but have thought that, right? It's BS. Leave me alone. Give me my license. Let me go on my way. Correct?
Yeah, I would say that's correct.
Yeah. And the answer is it's not correct, though, in terms of what they think. Because these are real wisdoms. And here's how it works. The world is, let's call it, forest and greenery, and there's one guy, even call him Adam, right, on the whole planet. Even if we get kind of an archaic view of the Torah, let's use it for the parable. And that man, he develops a society. Okay, we can imagine that at some point, even the Neanderthals, they started making better weapons, whatever it is. But eventually, we're walking around collecting berries. We're walking around looking to hunt tigers, whatever it is. Eventually, however you put it, man's going to invent the wheel. Agreed that there's a wheel? Somebody invented the wheel once?
Yeah. Well, right. Someone invented it, but there is a concept. I think the wheel was already invented, right? One of the things that was invented before creation?
I'm not sure about that. But
okay, maybe not.
Let's even speak outside of Torah theology for a second. Somebody invented a wheel. And then that guy said, hey, look at that. Wouldn't it be easier if I built a little contraption and made a wheelbarrow and carted my berries around instead of in a sack on my waist? Right, so the society builds. Then the guy said, hey, look, I can get from point A to point B if I go down a hill in four wheels. And then again, making this up for context, but somebody then said, it's a bumpy ride in your Fred Flintstone car. Wouldn't it be great if I chopped down these weeds and there's like a natural dirt plain over on that side of the mountain that we live on? Let's do that. Let's focus our energies over there. That's what I'll call it a city. Then they thought, you know what? We have like 100,000 people in our little city now. If we break up these boulders, our city is blessed with a lot of rocks. If we break up the rocks, because Merv over there figured out how to break up rocks, because he was having a rock problem about where to put his house. If we put rocks down, now they call that gravel, and gravel makes an easier time going down this hill. Then they said, well, I want to, if we can get from another point A to point B and more gravel, then I can go to Sally's house. Next thing you know, you have roads. Then you have the science and wisdom to refine the road. Because the neighboring city, now that we're traveling, they have tar. That's their thing. They have the Brea tar pits. And they got together and said, look at this. If we put the gravel with tar, it's a better kind of road. So eventually, man was destined to get roads. Everything we have. Right? You had your leather sandals became heel-based. Then you had cushioning. Next thing you know, you have Michael Air Jordan shoes. Right? Even I researched once the history of ketchup. Ketchup was like a side dish in China, some kind of nasty tomato red gook. Today it's called ketchup. These are natural wisdoms in the world. There are natural wisdoms, natural tools. Right? A fan used to be called blowing palm leaves on your friend. Now when they had electricity, they said, hey, I don't have to wave the palm leaf on Merv anymore. We can just plug it in. It's called a fan. Right? Like the Romans had everything that we have today. Now here's where the big button comes for you, Ari Lewis. Today a fan, I don't think it's exploitation because I plug it in and I'm fine. I flush my stuff away and I don't have to think about it. That's our denial and our delusions.
All right, now you were talking something earlier.
But in ancient Rome, let's say, ancient Rome, I'm a really rich guy. I'm going to employ all my slaves to blow palm leaves on me so that I'm cooled down. Wouldn't you say that's exploitation?
I guess so, yeah.
Right? I'm going to go conquer nations so that I can have air conditioning by you guys waving palm leaves on my white flush face.
Okay, but what if the people were paid, let's say, to do these palm leaves?
That's the thing. Do you want to do it the right way or the wrong way? If you want to pay for it and they're cool with it, that's great. That's a blessing. But that's the deciding factor every time. If you want to pay people minimum wage to make your shoes, and then in America they're going to keep the jobs on our soil, not ship it overseas, and you're willing to pay $600 for a pair of Nike Air Jordans, you earned that $600 by a healthy living. Yeah, that's great. Way to go. You should make a lot of free throws in that.
All right. You were talking something earlier about we're born in the sin, or the world has sinned. I know Christianity believes in the concept of original sin. Does Judaism believe anything like that?
We believe in the sunken state of mankind. Right? For eternal sin in Christianity, Adam sinned. You are a sinner. You cannot get out of it unless you believe in Yeshu. Only Yeshu can get you out of sin, is what they believe. Right? There is no such thing as the tzaddik coming to repair, the generation or whatever. All man is equally worthless. Yeshu, only because he was the Son of God, came and released us from our imprisonment, because God is a cruel God. Chas v'shalom, that's what they think. Judaism says Adam sinned. He brought evil, life force to evil, which now means instead of having an easy existence of meriting the good Nike Jordan, let's say, okay? Now you're born into a system where evil has vitality. So to eradicate evil from your midst, you now have to serve and repair the world called Tikkun Olam. Therefore, we all are born into a plight. It's almost like I don't know how much you watch NASCAR. Did you watch NASCAR a couple years ago when Tony Stewart won the final, what do you call it, the Cup, whatever it's called? Did you watch that?
A few years ago, I saw the highlights of it. Yes.
He was like in last place twice in that race, and he came back and won the race, right?
Okay, I'll have to take your word for it. I don't remember the last place part, but I know he was behind for sure.
He was way back there, and he came back and won. That's reality in life. The deck is stacked against you immeasurably. And through Torah and blessing and God's help, we are expected to pull through out of our plight and basically merit the Beis Hamikdash, Mashiach, the Biyad Tzaddik, all these things. What does the Pirkei Avos say? The work is a lot, the work is hard, the master pays on time, but you're not expected to finish the work. You have to repair this world. That's Judaism. And what that means, as far as our talk now, you have to not strengthen Klippa, i.e. evil. You have to eradicate evil and bring light into this world. And in a paraphrase fashion, you need to stop the exploitation and start being a Kiddush Hashem.
All right, so basically, there is a way to handle this situation and deal with it. Let's talk about some of those solutions, of what we could do. For example, I don't know if the shirt I'm wearing right now is made in sweatshop labor or not, but let's say it is. Do I get rid of my clothes? Do I only buy not clothes I know for sure are not sweatshop labor? Or how far do I have to go to research that? So tell us possibilities of what we can do positively to go forward.
All right, I'm going to give you an analogy just so it's easier to talk about. Yeah?
Okay.
Because it's pretty hard to stop doing that level. That's
Right.
I wish we could, but you're not going to. And I know you're not going to, and no one is. But let me pull it down to an easy level, okay? You have a single guy. He's not married, and this is his lifestyle. Ready? He eats McDonald's. He he has a gas guzzling car. He wears expensive name brand clothes to look cool. His kitchen is ridiculous in his apartment. He has a totally impractical mattress and bed. It's just whatever it is. It's not practical. It's a worn-out mattress or whatever it is. He has a semi-laborious job, so his back hurts. Not a lot, but he'd like a day off and rest. Now, paint that picture to the nth degree. You understand this guy?
I think so. I think I understand him.
Right. So now, let's say there's a perfect woman out there for him. And she's sizing out. She says, this guy's cute, and I like him. How can we fix our little project? And here's what he now, when he hits a certain age of wisdom, and this is what we're talking about is wisdom, he's going to have to undo all those things that he doesn't know it yet. But when he gets married, he's going to be losing all these little caveman habits that he does. But if you were to inspire him and say, look, you're going to change, buddy. It's just inevitable. Which one do you want to do first? Your whole life is horrible. It sucks. You need to change. 100% you are unacceptable. But it's okay because we accept that you had to come to this phase of being you. Right? You are a Neanderthal caveman. And we endeavor to make you a man. How do you want to attack this first, we ask him. It's like, wow, that's a tough question. So it becomes priorities. Right? What can you do? What do you want to do? What do you refuse to do? He says, well, I'm not changing the way I dress. That's my identity, man. I like my clothes. Okay, good enough. So we convince him of all the things in his lifestyle. We make a list. We go through his whole life and have 1,000 points of his Neanderthalism. And he's like, you know what? I'm really starting to not like Taco Bell and McDonald's so much. I'm willing to let you go in my kitchen, buy like the sharp knives, throw out the dull knives, give me some ceramic plates. I will agree to not use paper plates and do the dishes every day and sit down and have a meal and birkat hamazon and eat like a normal cultivated, refined human being. Is that fair?
I think it's fair.
All right. So now he is chosen between his bathroom habits, showering habits, travel habits, sleeping habits, eating habits, girl habits, friend habits, TV habits, all of the habits. He has decided that eating is something that he can do. All right, but I can't stop, having women hang around and the way I dress. I got a cool bachelor bed and the TV bedside goes with the bed. All these things that he does in his Neanderthalism. As he grows, theoretically, he will lose those habits. He will realize that it's not cool to show up to work with a bad back. He's going to buy a new bed. He's going to realize he looks like he's 16 and he's 40 years old now. He's going to trade the clothes in and get practical. He's going to realize that all the things that he's abusing himself are childish, immature, lack of wisdom, and he needs to evolve and change his ways. Same thing with the exploitation. Everything you have is an exploitation. How you choose to grow out of it, it's really your path with God, what you can do, what you believe to be true. How much research are you able to do? The world is bad, and you come out of it based on however much you put into this game of world repair. That's how much you'll get out of it. There's an infinite amount of what you can put in, and therefore an infinite amount you can bring out of it. It is up to you how serious you want to be. And it's not that you're evil if you don't do a lot. It's reshus, which in Hebrew means it's your portion. Right? This is the name of God, Elohim. The name of God of judgment. We say Hashem, who Elohim, the merciful God, is the true God. And the point is, it's a jungle of an existence. The lions and gazelles don't have Torah. When the gazelle ends up in the mouth of the lion, he realizes, you know what? It's time to die. I'm a gazelle, and I lived my life. I'm now in the mouth of a lion. Time to die. But a man in his jungle doesn't have the savage laws of nature to go by. We are told to go against that. The Torah says this is how you are to be man. You are to learn the Torah's ways and laws to know how to behave not by instinct but by divine decree. However much you're willing to put into that system is your portion of life. Because you pay for every single sin that you do. Whether it's not saying thank you to the guy at Taco Bell that gave you your nasty tray food. Why didn't you say thank you? You ruined that guy's day. He feels horrible. You come in every day and dump on this kid. Why weren't you taking his feelings into concern? That's exploitation too. He works, 2 jobs. He's poor, trying to pay his mom's bills so he can get by. And you're like, give me my burrito. Exploitation. Why didn't you pay attention to it? Why didn't you help him out? You see the kid has holes in his shoes. Why couldn't you give him a new pair of shoes? You have the money, right? You throw your money away on things that were not even kosher for you. So you pay for that. Because now the kid is going to resent it. He's going to spit in your food. And if you knew that, you'd be repulsed. Whatever it is. Therefore, you have to choose your method of attack. And the thing is that when you're judged and you sin, right, you're worthy of being killed all the time by the laws of the gazelle ends up in the mouth of the lion. But we say that's not the true God. That's only partially of what God's providence is. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is the merciful God. So as much as, and this is a mushal, an analogy in Vilna Gaon. I'll switch laterally here to the analogy. You are Chayav Misa. You are. We have to kill you. Based on heaven says we are every day. We got to kill you again and again and again. So what I'm going to do is, you are guilty of death of a 1,000-pound rock being thrown over your body, squashed. But due to God's mercy, we're going to pulverize the rock into dust and powder and throw the powder on you instead. And then you are Mekayim. You fulfill the rock being hit upon you. So instead of, let's say, falling off a cliff and dying, it's called I slipped on a rainy day into a puddle and ruined my brand new shorts, and I was able to get the punishment meted out to me that I deserved from my exploitation manner of the universe. And when I slipped in the water, I said, God, how could you do it? You curse God. God says, hey, I saved you again, and you're still not getting it. The point is to sweeten this world into a sweet existence where you're just no longer a jerk. And you don't even realize how bad of a jerk you are. Because there's people you're hurting that makes you worthy of being killed every single day. The very Nikes you wear, some Chinese kid, he's being killed for that. Right? So eventually you are killing somebody. And you're paying for it, but God understands the plight of man, and you live and you keep living. Ultimately, you're supposed to, by the end of your life, fix the world and end this chaos of exploitation.
Again, this is the Messiah Hour here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Thank you for joining us. My guest is Rabbi David Katz, co-author of the book, The World of the Ger. So this is a question I want to throw at you because I've struggled myself personally. Let's use the Taco Bell analogy or any analogy where I have a certain amount of money that I can help someone, but the way I made it was not kosher. And the Torah talks specifically that if you make money in a non-kosher way, it really says more, I believe, with prostitution, that you cannot give that to tzedakah. So I want to use this as a general analogy, meaning if we're involved with evil things, how can we help other people without using those evil things to help others?
Again, we all taste sin. If I have people supporting me that are known criminals, and I need the money, what do? They're saying, we are going to give you the money. And they are known criminals. What do? You know, this is tzedek tirdof, righteousness you shall pursue, says the Torah. You have to be an algorithmic equation. You have to figure out what is Beseder, you have to draw your red lines. What is allowed in Arya Lewis's world? What is crossing the line? You know, if Rabbi David Katz is on the Arya Lewis show, and Arya Lewis is tired of the ratings not hitting their mark, and I know
never. Those things don't happen.
And if Rabbi David Katz is sure to bring ratings because he just got done making a peace deal with the Palestinians, that'll for sure bring me ratings. Exploitation. You just sold out. How much is it? Is it worth it for you? But that's an extreme case. You know, how do you get out of it? Ignorance is bliss. I don't know about Rabbi Katz's personal stuff. Don't want to know. Well, that's also wrong. You know, you can't turn a blind eye to evil. So you can't run from it. You really have to hit evil and exploitation head on. Be aware of it. But also, this is the twist. You'll like this, Ari. Evil knows this as well. Right? So a lot of times when you see the poor and the destitute on the internet and TV, that's also propaganda. Right? You know, Israel has a high rating of unemployment, and the horrible Israeli Irvrav, and they don't care about the poor and destitute. Boker Tov, ladies and gentlemen, there's hardly anybody in this country that doesn't get sufficient funds or proper employment. The people that are unemployed are people that choose to be unemployed. Right? The Haredi numbers are so large, and it is their theology in religion to remain unemployed. Those are just padding stats. Right? Their money comes from other venues, other ways. So be aware of what isn't exploitation. You see, a lot of people want to trigger your emotions. I mean, it's not so much that by realizing that is one thing, but the people that are enslaved in that cult, they are the ones being exploited by their leaders. I mean, look, Hamas is the famous one, right? We hate Hamas, we want to kill Hamas, they're evil, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at it, right, the Hamas leadership is exploiting its own people for its own cause. Right? Iran is very close to getting nuked. But is the Iranian really our problem, or a bunch of Shiite lunatics that are looking to bring the imam back? So people get caught in the crossfire, the people that are being exploited. And that's different than having sympathy for a perceived exploitation. So it runs deep. Remember, anything on the good side, the backside is going to mimic it and use it to its advantage. Again, firing missiles with kids on board, right, like Hamas does. Exploitation. Because then, Israel can't bomb the bomb site. This game goes until an infinite calculation. All you can do is try to be righteous through the Torah, best ability, and get out as much out of life as you possibly can. That's life on one foot from the exploitation factor.
Again, this is the Messiah Hour here on Israel Sports and News Radio. My guest is Rabbi David Katz, co-author of the book The World of the Ger. Let's talk about a messianic concept, since this is the Messiah Hour. If you look at the way the Messiah comes out, it comes through three Averas. You have, obviously, Moab. Moab is going to eventually produce Ruth, who produces King David. And Moab, literally Moab from father. You had a daughter have relations with her father, and that's what produced the Moab tribe. You then have Yaakov Avinu marrying two sets of sisters, and because of that we get Yehuda, and then of course the whole Yehuda and Tamar story where he thought Tamar was a prostitute, and she wasn't. He was going to burn her, and then decided not to when he found out the truth. So these three Avera ways creates the Mashiach. Is that kind of a concept you're talking about of we're born in this world in sin and we've got to make the best of it?
Not so much. That is that God has pathways that mankind cannot fathom. And the Mashiach enters this world through the back door so that man is not ready, or the evil man is not ready and looking for those back doors. Right? God is very prickly. If God says the Mashiach's going to come through Judah, then look for the tribe of Levi. Right? Everyone ignores the pasuk with the blessing of Judah, where the messianic blessing is given, as it's determined. And then it says, Ad ki avo Shiloh, but not until Shiloh comes. Shiloh's the Gematria Moshe. And everybody knows that. And then yet they say the blessing comes from the tribe of Judah, Mashiach and David comes from Judah. They ignore the commentaries that say, like the Rashbam, that it's to produce an eventual David through Judah. Once you have David, then it's already fulfilled. But once it's engineered that everyone's looking for a Judahite, then God has free reign to do whatever he pleases and nobody even blinks an eye. Right? The Or Chaim commentator says, just like the Zohar and every Kabbalistic source in the world, Messiah is synonymous with Moses, which comes from Levi. And the verse supports it, Kabbalah supports it, but no one thinks to look there. Because everyone's, again, looking and they're very small. They're being exploited, and they're doing the exploitation, so that's what causes a blind eye. The same thing that Abraham didn't see Ishmael the right way, and Isaac didn't see Esav the right way, and the brothers didn't see Joseph the right way. I mean, this is all what that is. But I want to bring up another issue within Judaism, which we've spoken about a couple times, and that's male-female, which King Solomon goes into in great detail in Mishlei. A lot of people in the male-female, let's call it just dating ranks or whatever, the way it works, obviously, is physical attraction is the name of the game, and where everybody's playing that game. And what people don't realize, and this is a great evil, a horrible, horrible, horrible evil, is that exploitation is what ruins that. Right? And it's because of this. If the man is thinking about anything physical out of the Holy of Holiness of the marriage relationship in the pre-marriage state, even in the marriage state, for that point, that's already exploitation. If you say, I deserve gratification because I married a beautiful woman and, I'm her husband and this is what I'm deserved, you lost. You lose big because you're paying for that. You are paying heavily for that. People forget that men and women are human beings. They are not slaves just because you married them. They're not toys. They're not whatever you call it. They are human beings. You have a contract to live together in peace, to raise a family, and to help each other succeed and stand tall and proud in this world. When you abuse that relationship from familiarity breeds contempt type of mentality, you are paying for that. Right? So it's tit for tat. Once you abuse sexually, and it's exploitation. I just happen to be sleeping next to a woman because you're married. Now she is going to pervert the relationship on her end. It's a trade-off. Right? He gets action, and I get to abuse him in this way and that way. Then they find their balance of a healthy abuse. That's the sin of Adam and Eve. You cannot. It's not acceptable to have a mutual abusive relationship. But that's what all exploitation is, right? If the Chinese kid is willing to make my shoes, then I get to wear my shoes. You see, it's always a trade-off of turning a blind eye. But the thing is, the man doesn't realize the pain that he puts his wife in by abusing her, and she doesn't appreciate or acknowledge the abuse that he takes from getting it on his end. So both people are hurt and damaged, and then that comes out in a fight, then we have to make up, and then it just gets perpetuated. right? But the learned behavior learns how to abuse the other person. That's where exploitation comes from. The bottom line is, when you expect a woman to do things, what you're really saying is, can you stop being a woman for about 20 minutes? Can you just stop being you? All right, I want you to just not be you. That's abusive, by definition. It's like, Ari Lewis, it's not convenient that you remain Ari Lewis for the show. Can you just be somebody else for my sake and my glory? And you may even comply. But in the end, it's going to get old. It's going to become abusive. And then, I see that you're a doormat out of it. And then I'm going to stomp on it. That's how everything ends. That's the Satan. The Satan is the destroying force. Right? Nobody has the right to say to another person, you don't have the right to be you. Right? Or to a woman, you don't have the right to your dignity as a human being. You are a sexual object. That is the definition of exploitation, at the highest level of evil. That's why Adam and Eve is the paradigm sin of all time.
So, in a nutshell, will these problems not be completely solved until Mashiach comes?
That is Kabbalah 101, correct.
So, tell us what the world will be like then after Mashiach comes in regards to this exploitation issue.
You're going to learn communication, hard work, and value, and what it is to have God in this world. You'll realize that the things that you want are worth working for, that women are worth talking to and communicating to and learning how Bina works instead of using her as a sexual gratification toy. Right? So the relationship you want is the same as Adam knew his wife. You just want to know a woman. But because your mind is Neanderthal, and she knows that, and it's kind of like this sick contract that we do, men and women, right? You'll realize you'll be able to get into a spoken relationship where you are satisfied simply on an intellectual level. Now, there will be physical intimacy, but that's love. I mean, will I stop, hugging my kids? Right? There's intimacy in the world between love, right? You hug your mom, you hug your kids, you get even more intimate with your wife, right? Intimacy is here, but it won't come as an exploitation. Even my kids, when they're guilty, what do? They try to say, they'll come up and hug you, but they didn't really repair the thing. So then you have to judge how hard are you on the kids. You can't drill adult issues into them. So eventually you give in. It's a bit of an exploitation, but you're trying to bring them out of it. You're giving them wisdom, right? So people use intimacy of all types. I mean, look, in school, when you kissed up to the teacher, right? Because she knew that you're the cute kid that makes dumb, whatever it is, but you use it to your advantage. That's exploitation, because the teacher was mad at you because she's trying to impart to you a wisdom that you'll succeed. You didn't get that wisdom because you were being a goof. Now you messed up because we have these little relationships, and intimacy usually fixes them. But in the future, intimacy will be an expression of love between souls, whether it's a handshake amongst men, a hug between family members, relations, man and wife. There's all levels, but it's meant to be an expression of love. There's a midrash that in the world to come that Abraham and Sarah Abraham was sitting on Sarah's lap, and Eliezer saw. He's like, "Wow, you can't show me that." And it's the idea that in that world they didn't see anything nasty, but it's that the intimacy is not an exploitation. Right? It's not from a yetzer hara, a sin. And the point is that the real meat and potatoes of the world will be enjoyed as much as the dessert. Meaning, obviously it's great to be intimate. Or, the touchdown's the best part of the football game, right? Whatever it is. But we only want that because we want to just cut to the chase and get to where we want to get to. The whole journey of life, that's where the real wisdom is and the real pleasure. Right? Getting to know someone is just as great as already knowing them. Again, familiarity breeds contempt. So if you just go right to the end, it's a short-lived relationship. It's destined to fall apart, and then you're constantly working on the relationship. Whereas if you would appreciate the life of coming together of souls, there's a constant getting to know and dialogue and discussion, and that's life. And that's what's missing. When you just went out and bought your Air Jordans, there's so much of life you just cut out because you went right to the exploitation. Another one is if Ari, like you deal with computer stuff, right? And you're learning as you go. Imagine if you would just pay everyone to do your stuff and you had no hands-on whatsoever, then we can exploit you. That's like, I mean, look, that's like Mechanic 101. If you don't know your car and you take your car to a mechanic shop, good luck. I can make as much money as I want from you. You know, I just tell you, make up problems. You're not going to know it. Exploitation. But if you get to know the mechanic and the process and the car that you drive every day, now there's no exploitation, and you will actually enjoy when the car breaks down. Because you'll know what to do, you're prepared, and then you're not being exploited. It promotes goodness in the world. Then the problems, the judgments are sweetened. It's not that you have a bad car, it's that you have an opportunity to grow in wisdom. Totally different view of the universe.
Again, this is the Messiah Hour here on Israel Sports and News Radio. My guest is Rabbi David Katz. Of course, you can email us at messiahhour@gmail.com or the station at Israel Sports and News Radio at gmail.com. So last question I have for you, Rabbi. We've talked about some of the things we can do going forward and how things might not be ideal, but we need to do something in the meantime. What are some of the things that we should avoid doing and try to stay away from completely?
Very, like, 2 or 1 sentence, answer. Ready? Stop living a McDonald's lifestyle and start living a wisdom lifestyle. Period.
Okay, but let's expand a bit, because that's gonna be easier said than done. How could people, as far as logistically, go about doing that and practically?
If it's convenience and something of familiarity, that is evil. If it becomes inconvenient and never becomes familiar, that is the way of wisdom. So if you just jump in to convenience and familiarity, you should just know you are being exploited, and promoting evil. If you are doing things in an inconvenient way and taking the long, hard route and not becoming overly familiar and discovering and finding out, by definition, you can see this the way I described it in the second part of my words, that already became wisdom, right? Discovery, finding out. When it lends itself to wisdom and becomes wisdom, right? Of course my wife has to talk to me. She's a woman. That's exploitation. That's familiarity. That's convenient, right? When you need to struggle to find out what she means and talk and communicate and refine words, that's inconvenient. That's already the way to wisdom. And you're discovering her. You're discovering the communication, discovering what words she uses. You're discovering another person. And that's just called derech eretz. It's basic humanity. But that's what we're trying to get back to. It is a convenience to let some Chinese kid make your shoes in a sweatshop. But if you can get over that convenience factor and start getting into the wisdom of it, that's how you get out of the exploitations of the world and get back into dignity in the respect of humankind.
So basically, if everything's going easy, it's a problem.
100%. That's McDonald's culture, right? The society wants you. Hey, are you hungry? Go buy McDonald's. It's quick and easy, and you like it, right? Right? Come on, you like it, right? Biggie, say Biggie. Let me hear you say Biggie. Come on, Biggie. Say Biggie. Say Biggie.
Biggie.
Hey, you said Biggie. But that's it. That's culture, man. Hey, you want girls? Go to a bar. Look at her. Oh yeah. And you wake up next morning, you feel it's like Anakin Skywalker meme. What have I done? Right? When you ate the whole pizza and you had the McDonald's and you got with the girl and you got drunk and you got the Nike Jordans and you've done. That's it. That's the anti-wisdom world. Right? Wisdom is not that. Whatever that is, wisdom is not that. Wisdom is the opposite of that. Right? Sit down and think about how to cook a dinner. Learn about what is dinner. How do you? Why are you not making? Step back. Make it inconvenient. The most inconvenient life you can live is the most righteous. But you don't just make it generally inconvenient. Make it of wisdom inconvenience. Again, you don't just you don't get a chocolate chip sundae and eat the cherry, right? You're supposed to enjoy the food, or you don't spoil your dinner, so to speak. All these little cliches and axioms that we say are true, right? If you're out with a woman and you want to know if she's a good match, try forming a relationship. How many people don't even do that anymore? Just tell me if you're right for me. Well, how do we woo, let's talk, find out, discover. But people aren't thinking along those lines. They just want, I want to buy, I'm working from point A to point B. I got to get a good car. So give me the most expensive car. I'm rich, so I can have just give me a great car. Why? That's also exploitation. You're basically, the companies know that, Bob with a lot of money is just going to spend a lot of money. So he's not even getting his needs. Then he's going to find out, oh, dude, I got the car that doesn't have the USB port in the radio. Guess I got to get another one. Just throw it away. It's just thrown away. But that's exploitation. You can't just throw stuff away. So there has to be a research, a wisdom, what is fitting for you. I mean, for example, like MP3 Bluetooth speakers. I wanted to get a good one. I like music. I like to learn with music and stuff. And it's like, yeah, just give me Bose. Just give me good Bose. I don't even know, Bose. And I researched it. I'm like, all right, so you first read the comments online. What do they say? There's a difference. This one has this one has that. Otherwise, you're gonna be paying over and over and over and over again. And then I realized, where do I listen to my music the most? I want to give my kids showers in the morning. We have music on. We have a big shower, so I like to have music going on for the kids. And I realized I need a water-resistant, waterproof speaker. Right? So by a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of research, then you get the right product. And it's not about getting the best and spend the most money. Right? That's an exploitation also. Get what's right for you. I want the hottest wife possible. Maybe that's not for you. Right? I want to get I want to eat now. I don't care what it is. That's called McDonald's. So all that convenience and familiarity, it just breeds that life of contempt. That's why the world's so angry. Right? People are consuming anger. It's a natural wisdom. But if you step back and think and absorb and analyze and let things be what's right, that's called a relationship. Then it fits, and then you don't abuse it. Right? It's like the speaker that's not for me. I might, this stupid speaker, and then throw it against the wall and break it. It's made in China, it's junk. But that's already that's a child. You're being like a child. But if you have something precious to you because it's really for you, you treat your things with respect. Then you're not so quick to go out and buy an exploitation device, so forth and so on. It's all one wisdom or one anti-wisdom, however you look at it.
Wow. Mind-blowing episode today here on Messiah Hour, Israel Sports and News Radio. Basically, in a nutshell, if it's too easy, it's a problem. You can also go labor love. You can learn a lot of things with this episode. This will be up on the website. And my guest has been Rabbi David Katz. He's the co-author of the book, The World of the Ger, which can be found on gergear.com. You can also go to somazal.com, and the rabbi can tell you things about your name and what it means to you and your soul. And if you want to email me, that's messiahhour@gmail.com. Or you can send a PayPal donation to israelsportsradio@yahoo.com. Again, israelsportsradio@yahoo.com. Rabbi, thank you for being on today. Great job as always.
Thanks for having me back, Ari.
Indeed. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Be well and shalom.